Well, there's a famous, the famous concern about playing Lear that comes down through history is you have to be young enough to be able to memorize the lines, because it's a huge part, and young enough to be able to carry Cordelia in at the very end, assuming that's the way the director does it. And yet at the same time, you can't look too young because, you are Lear. So there are parts in the classical repertoire especially that are, that call for certain things. Well, I guess what I resent is when they cast somebody simply because of either their chronological age or the way they look and whether they're a good actor or not. And in the end, to me, it's about the acting. And if you can do it and you're 67 and you can play 89, hey, why not? I mean, I've been up for another production of The Price down in Florida, and I didn't hear. And my suspicion is they wanted somebody older, But anyway, enough about aging, even though that's why we're here. What has surprised me? Well, other than the fact that I can't physically do a lot of, although if you'd see me on the dance floor at this wedding last night, you'd have thought differently, but just by my feet. I guess, the most obvious answer is the physical limitations. I have a hip replacement, which means that I can't go down on the floor very easily. I also can't put on my left sock very easily. So I was doing a show a couple of years ago where the costume designer said, you're going to wear these socks for the first act and these socks for the second act. I said, is there an intermission? And she said, yeah, why? I said, because I'm going to need help getting my left sock on. Because, I have a device that helps me, pull it on, but I don't have the, the flexibility and the mobility, and I think that's, probably the most, challenging thing, as you get older. To say nothing of one's, physical appearance. You lose your hair, your voice takes on, different qualities, and, eyesight as well. I don't wear contacts at all, and I dread the day where I'm asked to do some television thing and have to read a teleprompter without glasses, because it's not like I'm blind. I can see you. But, it's these little things, and hearing as well. My hearing. I'm starting to have hearing problems. So, it hasn't happened on stage as yet, but it's an issue. I tend to then overcompensate by braying, because I think, well, if I can't hear you that well, you certainly can't hear me. So, blah, blah, blah. So I guess it's those kind of physical things, because I used to jog, I used to, dance, I used to do all this kind of stuff. And, as you get older, which is not to say that I'm, knock on wood, I'm not someone with those kind of limitations, but still, I can't do, what I did, except at weddings, when I'm drinking.